Oh my god, shoes. How much does that reference age me? Runners love talking about shoes. I don't like shoes. I realise this is a big problem for someone who has opted to base their entire self-worth around running. So today we're going to talk about some shoes that make wearing shoes bearable and sometimes even maybe good. Yes, I have been diagnosed with something. Why do you ask? Before we get into it, the last video got way more views than I was expecting, and there are a few new folks in here, so welcome. If you are interested in catching up with how the rest of the half marathon training block has gone so far, I'm going to link a playlist in the pinned comment on this video. Now, I need to state that this shoe rotation might be better described as a footwear rotation. I don't think we can safely describe all of these as shoes. And this selection isn't all the running shoes that I own, just the ones that are relevant to this training block. Anyway, let's get started with some of the more normal stuff. Okie dokie, I currently have 3 pairs of shoes in my workout and racing rotation for road running. 2 of them are basically the same. I do the majority of my workouts in the Topo Cyclone 2. You'll notice a theme as we're going through these, that all these shoes have a foot-shaped toe box. I have goblin feet, and it's reached the point where I cannot tolerate shoes with a more normal, narrower toe box. Having said that, I hate shoes. I do really love the Cyclone 2. Any shoes that I'm doing a lot of stuff in, I have probably worn quite a bit already, and I have put through the ringer, and I feel confident in the shoe, and I feel confident about the brand that the shoe is from. Topo Athletic are one of the brands that I'm confident buying from. But anyway, more about the actual shoe itself. Because it has a nice foot-shaped toe box, it's just really comfortable. My toes can spread out and do their thing. I never feel like I'm gonna get blisters. The heel is nice and secure. It's a really light shoe, and it has a 5mm drop, which means it still feels relatively close to zero drop, which I quite like. The stack height isn't also totally bonkers, so there's a good amount of protection there for road running, but it doesn't feel like you're super far away from the ground and have loads of instability. In terms of performance, I've run 3 road 10Ks in these and a road half. It was very comfortable to wear for all of them. This particular shoe has been retired from racing, and it is just a workout shoe now. However, the full Piba foam midsole does mean that it's still pretty poppy in workouts. Nice snappy feel for intervals, and it feels good running faster and slower intervals. I have even ended up using these on a long run not all that long ago, because I had to go somewhere and I didn't have a ton of bag space, so I just took the 1 pair of shoes, did my long run in them. Felt really nice. So I would be happy using these for more long runs if I needed to, and I may well end up doing that later in this training block. The other shoe I'll be using for occasional workouts is the Ultra Vanish Carbon. Topo do not make a carbon plated shoe, and at the moment, Ultra are the only option if you want a carbon plated shoe with a foot shaped toe box. There is now a Vanish Carbon 2 on the market, so I was able to pick this one up, this older model, up for about 54 quid. As I've not been able to try a carbon plated shoe previously, I felt like this was a reasonable amount of money to spend to try it out, and if I hated the feel of the carbon plate, then I wouldn't have wasted much money. I have only run a couple of workouts and 1 race, my recent 10K PB, in these so far, so I do not have a lot of miles in them. They have been basically fine, but I've just got no point of comparison because they're the first carbon plated shoe I've ever tried, so I don't really know how they fare compared to other carbon plates. However, they are my only option, so I'm not sure it really matters how they fare against other carbon plates. They felt good during the workouts and during the 10K, but I do feel like I probably wouldn't want to wear these beyond a 10K. I have a sneaking suspicion that some of the issues I've been having with my sciatic nerve recently might have coincided with when I started using these in workouts, and my leg did feel really bad the day after the 10K. So I'm wondering if these might be a bit too aggressive, or I just need to ease into them differently. But in any case, at the moment, I would not want to wear these for something like a half marathon. They did feel nice in workouts though, so I don't know. The problem with the sciatic nerve could just be related to something else entirely. But I am gonna race and do workouts in these a bit more, just to see if that triggers anything to, yeah, basically confirm or deny my hypothesis on where the origin of the nerve issues come from. So in terms of racing for the rest of the block, I will continue to use the Vanish Carbons if I'm doing a sort of race effort race stimulus parkrun, I'll probably use the Vanish carbons. My next 10k race, I'm planning to use them. I will use them in some workouts, probably spread them out a little bit more so I can kind of get used to the feel of them a little bit more gradually. I'm still not 100% sure what I want to race the half marathon in though. I have a pair of Topo Cyclone 3s and I will wear these if I don't feel confident about getting a pair of Vanish Carbon 2s. These are basically the same shoe as the Cyclone 2. There are some very, very minor differences. They're a little bit lighter, there's a slightly different shape to them, but they're effectively the same shoe. They're not really much of an upgrade from the Cyclone 2, which in some ways is a little bit disappointing, but at least I know that I've run so much in the 2s that I know the 3s are going to be absolutely fine, because there's so little change between them. So those are my safe option if I don't come up with something else. My other potential option is to get a pair of Topo Spectre 2s. I think they might be more suited to sort of distances over the half marathon, but since there's sort of sales on and stuff, I might just grab a pair after Christmas and see how they pan out, I suppose. Yeah, it seems worth giving them a try, so they might get added into the shoe rotation in the new year. This is where things get a bit weird. I have at the moment a selection of 4 pieces of footwear that I use for my easy running. Exactly which I pick kind of just depends on how I'm feeling on that day. First up, we've got something a bit more normal. I have a pair of Altra Torin 6s. I've not picked these because they're a shoe I particularly like. I've picked them because I went to my favourite online running retailer. I selected the foot shape toe box menu, selected size UK 4.5, and then sorted the menu from price low to high, and these were 40 quid. Because all I'm really doing in these most of the time is running down the hill to the gym and then running back up the hill after I've trained or coached or whatever, they just really don't need to be a particularly special shoe. They just need to fit my general requirements. So essentially I opt to save a bit of money here and then spend it where I think it really matters, on like the race shoes and stuff, and making sure I've got race shoes that I'm really, really happy with. So a shoe that's a couple of models behind is totally fine. Having said that, they are pretty comfortable and I probably will be fine and quite happy to run longer, slower stuff in them. Right, now we get a little bit stranger with a pair of Freet Paces. I've had these for maybe 4 years now. They've done like nearly 1,800 kilometers, but because they're a minimalist shoe, and there's absolutely no support or structure to them whatsoever, I can keep using these until they're at the stage where there's just a bunch of holes in the upper and the soles can't be glued back on anymore. So because they've got no cushioning in them, the use I find for these in day-to-day training is encouraging me to run at a slow enough pace. It's not especially comfortable to run quickly in the minimalist shoes, even if you're really used to them. So even if I'm running every day, sometimes it's good to pop a pair of these on and it just kind of makes me run at a more appropriate pace. Helps me get my ego in check. I am not suggesting you go out, buy a pair of minimalist shoes and start doing all your easy runs in them. If you do that, you will get injured almost immediately. It's definitely something to build up to. I spent most of my childhood running around with no shoes on. Through my teenage years, I was doing cross country through the winter in spikes and stuff in the summer in track spikes and whatnot. In my 20s, I moved to just using minimalist shoes on a day-to-day basis, and when I was doing parkour and stuff. I've done ultra marathons in minimalist shoes. I've done a lot of training in minimalist shoes. I am very used to them at this stage, so do not feel tempted to copy me on a short timescale. If you find some burning urge to buy a pair, just walk short distances in them to start with. Next up, we do get weird. Now, both these options serve a similar purpose on the running front to the Freet Pace. It is not especially comfortable to run quickly in a pair of sandals that are essentially a slither of plastic and some webbing, nor is it particularly comfortable to run quickly in what is basically a sock with some rubber on the sole. The other purposes of these pieces of footwear is to accommodate what we'll refer to as very autistic days. There are some days I don't want to put shoes on, or I want a mental break from the concept of the shoe. I'm not going to try and make that sound rational. It isn't. The human brain is a lump of wet flesh with electricity running through it. It generally isn't very rational. Some days shoes are just totally overwhelming, but for some contexts there are also days where all colours and sounds are like physically painful, and certain sensations touching my skin makes me just completely overwhelmed with the desire to remove all of my skin. I can't eat Skittles unless I've organised them by colour, so that the colour with the most Skittles in is an even number to the colour that has the second most Skittles in, and then I have to keep So really the shoe thing is pretty minor on the list of odd shit going on up here. The sandals are from Xero. I will likely never need to replace these. I just don't really run enough volume in them to wear them down at all. And the sock shoes are basically aqua shoes. I usually just find them on Amazon. I bought this pair ages ago. I have ordered some more because these are starting to wear out quite a bit. There isn't a specific brand to go to. I just look for this kind of design with the sock and this sort of slightly wrapped around rubber sole. They are all so similar. I just have to assume they're made in the same place, regardless of what brand has actually ended up being stitched onto the fabric. So they all fill a similar role, with these two being here to accommodate my neurological conditions. Two new mentions in this category and some references to shoes I've already talked about. I'll be aiming to do some of my longer runs on trails, in which case I'll be using the Freet Howgills. I love this shoe. It's very sock-like, which I love for really long stuff. One thing that causes me some anxiety over long distances is the heel rubbing. I've had to DNF a race before because of heel rubbing. So the fact this is a lovely sock situation removes all that anxiety, as it's impossible to have the heel rub. Nice wide toe box. I usually pair these with toe socks and I've never had any major blistering in them. Ran a 50k ultra back in March this year in these. They're perfect on softer ground and like well-groomed trails. I think I will get a rock plate insert for them to see if I can expand the capabilities of the shoe a bit. And I did more recently get a reboundish type insole to go in them, just to make them a little bit more comfortable to run over slightly harder terrain. And that insole has worked really nicely so far, and I feel like has expanded the capabilities of the shoe. They're good for rocky ascending, but obviously not that comfortable for rocky descending. But all in all, I do enjoy these shoes a lot. I have so far run over 700 kilometers in them. The soles are showing barely anywhere, and I think if I washed them properly, they probably would still look pretty much brand new. Great shoes. 11 out of 10 from Freet on this one. If I do want a bit more cushioning on a longer trail run, I will use the Topo Ultraventure Pro. These are pushing towards the end of their life. I think the foam at the back of the heel here is degrading. I do keep patching it up, but the integrity has sort of reached a point where even the patch jobs are like falling apart a lot faster. And obviously when the heel is degrading like that, it's just a nightmare for heel rubbing, and it's just impossible to really run in them for any real distance. I haven't yet got 1,000 kilometers out of these, and they're still fully okay up on the uppers are all good. The sole still feels like it's got quite a bit left in it. So I'm gonna see if I can push them at least closer to the 1,000 kilometer point, but I probably won't try and take them out on any particularly long runs because I'm just a little bit anxious about the heel rubbing situation. In terms of longer road runs, I have suggested I might use the Topo Cyclone 2s. I think by the end of the training block, these beasties will be probably nearing the end of their usable life, so I probably will maybe do my last couple of long runs in them as a bit of a farewell, perhaps. The Altra Torin 6s seem like they'll be perfectly fine for longer, slower stuff, so I'll probably end up taking those out on 1 or 2 longer runs before the end of the block. As I'm following the Norwegian singles approach for this training block, I won't be doing any like long run workouts, so the shoe just needs to be one I'm happy to run in for up to 2.5 hours. And that's it. Maybe a bit different to the average shoe rotation on YouTube, but I feel it's probably useful to showcase how someone with slightly odd feet goes about having a useful shoe rotation for a high training volume. Topo and Freet have been my go-to brands for quite a while now. Ultra have come in more recently, just because they're the only brand I could find that had a wider toe box with a carbon plated shoe option. But so far I don't feel like they are anywhere near as good on the whole as Topo are. If you're looking for wider toe box stuff that's got cushioning, then I think Topo are the superior brand to go with based on my experience so far. But I am happy enough with the Ultras that I will make use of them in my lineup when it's convenient and useful to do so. All right, a little bit of a training update before I sign off. Things seem to be going okay. The sciatic nerve thing is steadily improving. The ganglion cyst is just there, it's not doing anything. I have been struggling a bit with the emotional side of training over the last week and a half, I suppose. I find Christmas very difficult. I'm probably not the only person who finds Christmas very, very difficult, and I just struggle. Coming up to this time of year, it's just emotionally hard work, and sometimes that carries over into other things in life, and I am just finding it hard to kind of get out and do anything, including running at the moment. I usually feel better once I get out and do it, but there is, a weight, I guess, sat on the old shoulders. It will shift as the new year progresses, but for the minute I'm getting it done. But yeah, it is feeling relatively hard work to get the training sessions done at the minute, but I think if I can, yeah, perform them while I'm in a suboptimal mental state, then that will pay dividends later down the line when I know that I can push through a difficult day and get the key sessions done. I have been struggling a bit with my appetite, which isn't ideal. Struggling to want to eat a lot of days, which yeah is a problem when I'm trying to run 100 kilometers a week. I'm figuring out ways around it, so I'll just keep working on that. But the training is happening, building back up to that 100 kilometer point, and then yeah, plan will be to hold that through to the half marathon taper. All right, I'm going to stop wittering on now. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.